the barren woman who was mocked by her co-wife, but when the billionaire doctor arrived, God gave her triplets. Have you ever felt like a mistake? Have you ever screamed at the ceiling in the middle of the night, asking God why He gave everyone else a miracle but gave you only silence? Imagine building a home with your own hands, only to be told you have no right to live in it because your womb is closed. Imagine watching the man you love turn into a stranger because you couldn't give him a son. This is the story of Adaugo, a woman whose name means, daughter of an eagle, but who was treated like a chicken destined for the soup pot. She was pushed, mocked, and broken, all because of something she couldn't control. But what her tormentors didn't know was that while they were mocking her in the rain, Destiny was parking a luxury car right outside her gate. You do not want to miss a single second of this story. It will make you cry, it will make you angry, and eventually, it will make you cheer louder than you ever have before. Before we dive into this emotional roller coaster, please, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We share powerful stories that touch the soul, and you won't want to miss the next chapter. Also, I love knowing our family. Tell me in the comment section right now, where are you watching from? Is it Lagos, New York, London, Accra? Let me know, and I'll give you a shout out in the next video. Now, grab your tissues. Let's go to the village of Omionid. The air smelled of roasted goat meat, spicy jollof rice, and the heavy, dusty scent of a dry season afternoon. Drums beat a rhythm that shook the ground, boom, 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 announcing to the entire village that today was a day of glory. It was the day Obinna, Adaugo's husband, was taking the Ozo title. He was becoming a chief. Inside the large compound, canopies were set up in rows, draped in colorful fabrics. Men in red caps waved fans made of horse tails, laughing and drinking palm wine. Women in stiff, shiny head ties danced in circles, their jewelry flashing in the sun. It was a perfect day. A day of joy. But not for Adaugo. Adaugo was in the back kitchen, a soot-stained shed far away from the celebration. Her wrapper was tied tight across her chest, soaked with sweat. Her hands were blistered from stirring 3 massive pots of egusi soup and pounding yam since 4 a.m. She was the first wife. By tradition, this was her day too. By tradition, she should be sitting beside her husband, wearing the best lace, accepting greetings. But tradition had been written in Obinna's house. Is the pounded yam ready? A sharp voice pierced the air. Adaugo flinched. She turned to see Nkiru standing at the entrance of the kitchen. Nkiru, the second wife. She looked like a goddess of wealth. Her lace was a blinding shade of royal blue, heavily beaded. Her neck was weighed down by coral beads, and her stomach was flat, but her hips were wide, the hips of a woman who had birthed 3 strong sons. It is ready, Nkiru, Adaugo said, her voice raspy from smoke. She wiped her hands on a rag. I was just about to carry the coolers to the high table. Adaugo reached for the large cooler of soup, her arms trembling slightly from exhaustion. Stop. Nkiru backed, stepping forward. Adaugo froze. What is it? Nkiru sneered, her eyes scanning Adaugo from her charcoal-stained fingers to her dusty toes. You want to carry food to the high chief and his guests. Look at you. You look like a madwoman. I have been cooking all day, Adaugo defended herself softly. I will go inside and bathe, change into my George wrapper, and come out to serve. Nkiru let out a cold, wicked laugh. It wasn't a laugh of amusement, it was the sound of glass breaking. Serve. You want to serve? Nkiru stepped closer, lowering her voice so only Adaugo could hear the venom. Adaugo, use your head. This is a celebration of life, of legacy, of future generations. What business does a dry tree have serving fruit to the living? Adaugo felt the words hit her chest like a physical blow. Nkiru, I am still his wife. The first wife. You are a decoration, Nkiru hissed. A piece of furniture we keep out of pity. Do you think the elders want to eat food served by hands that are cursed? Hands that cannot hold a baby? Do you want to infect the chief's food with your bad luck? I am not cursed, Adaugo whispered, tears stinging her eyes. Then where are your children? Nkiru shouted, suddenly loud enough for the nearby women to hear. Where are they? If you are not cursed, why is your womb a graveyard? Adaugo dropped her gaze. The shame was a familiar heavy coat she wore every day. Don't touch the plates. Nkiru commanded, snapping her fingers. My maids will serve. You stay here. In fact, stay behind the house. The guests don't need to see you scaring the children with your long face. But Obina, Adaugo stammered. He asked me to manage the food. Obina is a chief now. Nkiru yelled. He doesn't need a Barren woman dragging him down. Leave the food. Just then, the sound of running feet filled the kitchen. Nkiru's 3 sons, Chinedu, Emeka, and little Samto, burst in, laughing, chasing a ball. They were dressed in miniature versions of their father's chieftaincy outfit. They looked beautiful. They looked like everything Adaugo prayed for every night. Chinedu, the eldest at 10 years old, stopped. He looked at the cooler of soup, then at Adaugo. He was holding a piece of oily fried meat in his hand. Auntie Adaugo, Chinedu said. Yes, my son, Adaugo smiled weakly, trying to show love despite the mother. Chinedu smirked, a terrifying mirror of his mother's expression. He walked up to Adaugo and wiped his greasy, oil-stained hand directly onto her clean wrapper. Mommy said you are the maid today, the boy laughed. Maids are for cleaning. Chinedu. Adaugo gasped, looking at the oil stain spreading on the only good fabric she had left to wear. Good boy, Nkiru cackled, patting her son's head. Go and play. Leave the witch alone. The boys ran off, laughing. Witch. Maid. Dry tree. Adaugo looked past Nkiru, towards the compound. She saw Obina standing near the canopy. He was laughing, shaking hands with the local government chairman. He looked towards the kitchen. Their eyes met. Adaugo's eyes pleaded with him. Defend me, husband. Tell her I am your wife. Tell her I have dignity. Obina held her gaze for a second. Then, he saw Nkiru standing there in her royal blue lace, radiant and commanding. He looked at Adaugo, sweaty and defeated. He frowned, turned his back, and continued laughing with his guest. He chose. He chose the noise over the silence. He chose the sounds over the memory of their love. You see. Nkiru gloated. Even he is tired of you. Now, take these dirty pots to the backyard. Wash them. All of them. That is your job. And don't let me see your face in the main compound until the last guest has left. Nkiru signaled her hired girls to carry the coolers of food, the food Adaugo had cooked with her own sweat and money, out to the guests. Adaugo was left standing alone in the smoke-filled kitchen. Slowly, painfully, she gathered the heavy, black iron pots. They were covered in soot and burnt palm oil. She hauled them to the tap at the far back of the compound, near the bush, where the refuse dump was kept. As she sat on a small wooden stool, the sky began to darken. The bright sun of the celebration gave way to heavy, grey clouds. Within minutes, the rain began to fall. It wasn't a gentle shower. It was a torrential downpour. Adaugo didn't move. She didn't run for cover. She sat there, the rain soaking her wrapper, mixing with the tears on her face. In the distance, she could hear the music playing, Egu Ijodich. She could hear the MC praising Chief Obinna and his Nkiru. She could hear the clinking of spoons and the laughter of people eating the food she prepared. She scrubbed the pot, her fingers numb. God, she whispered, her voice breaking under the sound of the rain. God, are you there? She looked up at the grey sky, water running down her face like a river. Did you create me just to suffer? Is my womb a curse? Why did you give me a heart to love children but a body that rejects them? She scrubbed harder, the iron sponge tearing into her skin, bleeding into the dishwater. They call me a dry tree. They wipe their filth on me. My husband looks at me like a stranger. God, if I am a mistake, just take me. Take me now. I am tired of being the joke of Omunid. She buried her face in her wet knees and screamed, a silent, gut-wrenching scream that no one at the party heard. She was alone. Forgotten. A piece of trash in the backyard of a palace. But Adaugo didn't know that the rain falling on her head was also falling on the main road just outside the compound. She didn't know that just 50 meters away, a sleek black Mercedes-Benz had just hit a deep pothole filled with mud. She didn't know that the engine had sputtered and died. And she certainly didn't know that the man sitting in the back seat, clutching his chest and gasping for air, was about to change her life forever. The party was for the chief. But the miracle was coming for the maid. My heart is breaking for Adaugo right now. Have you ever been betrayed by the person who was supposed to protect you? Let me know in the comments. And please, if you want to see Nkiru get what she deserves, like this video and type justice for Adaugo in the comments. See you in the next chapter. Welcome back, family. If you watched chapter 1, your heart is probably heavy right now. We left Adaugo crying in the rain, washing pots while her husband and his second wife celebrated their complete family inside. It is easy to think that God is sleeping when we are suffering. It is easy to think that because people have rejected us, destiny has rejected us too. But I want to tell you something today, the teacher is always quietest during the test. Adaugo didn't know it, but while she was weeping over dirty plates, her test had arrived. Not a test of strength, but a test of character. How do you treat others when the world treats you like trash? This chapter is going to reveal the true heart of a queen. If you believe that kindness is a currency that never loses value, type kindness pays in the comments below. And if you are new here, please subscribe. You are joining a community of people who believe in hope. Now, let's go back to that rainy evening in Omunid. The rain had turned the red earth of the village into a thick, slippery sludge. The drumming inside the compound had stopped for a brief intermission, but the sound of laughter still floated over the high concrete fence. Inside, there was warmth, light, and wine. Outside, there was only the cold and the dark. Adaugo could not bear the sound of the celebration any longer. The image of Chinedu wiping grease on her wrapper kept playing in her mind like a nightmare. She abandoned the pile of unwashed pots and walked towards the front gate, seeking shelter under the small, unfinished security house Obinna had started building years ago but never finished. She sat on a block, shivering. Her eyes were swollen. Her spirit was tired. Suddenly, bright headlights cut through the darkness. A car was coming down the bad road, and not just any car. It was a massive, black SUV, sleek and silent, looking like a spaceship that had landed in the wrong century. It moved slowly, navigating the deep craters filled with rainwater. But the mud of Omunid respects no man's money. With a loud, sickening squelch, the front tires of the beastly car sank into a deep ditch hidden by the floodwater. The engine roared, the tires spun, spraying mud everywhere, but the car didn't move. It was stuck. Adaugo watched from the shadows, hugging her knees. Rich people problems, she thought bitterly. They would just call another car. But then, the driver's door opened. An older man stepped out. He wasn't young, perhaps in his late 60s, dressed in a simple but high-quality white kaftan that was immediately assaulted by the rain. He didn't look like a driver, he carried himself with an air of authority, yet right now, that authority was crumbling. He stumbled. His hand clutched his chest. He leaned heavily against the car hood, his breathing shallow and rapid. He looked around frantically, confused, like a man who had suddenly forgotten where he was. Inside the house, Nkiru was standing by the window of the master bedroom, sipping a glass of malt. She saw the headlights. She saw the car stuck in the mud. She saw the old man staggering in the rain. "Obinna, come and see," she chuckled, calling her husband who was counting money on the bed. "What is it?" Obinna asked, not looking up. "Some old fool has driven his car into the gutter outside. Look at him, shaking like a wet chicken. He is ruining his shoes," she laughed, taking another sip. "Serves him right. Who told him to drive a big car on this village road? Is he okay?" Obinna asked, half-heartedly. "He is drunk, surely," Nkiru waved a hand dismissively. "Let him suffer. He will learn to respect the road." She closed the curtain, shutting out the sight of the struggling man. That was the test. Nkiru failed it. Outside, Adaugo saw what Nkiru refused to see. She saw the tremor in the man's hands. She saw the way he gasped for air, his eyes wide with panic. This wasn't a drunkard, this was a medical emergency. Adaugo didn't think about her ruined wrapper. She didn't think about the cold. She didn't think about the fact that she was forbidden from being seen by guests. She ran. She splashed through the mud, crossing the road in seconds. "Papa! Papa!" she called out, reaching him just as his knees gave way. She caught him. He was heavy, dead weight in her arms, soaking wet. "Help me," he wheezed, his face pale even in the darkness. "Air. Breathe, Papa, breathe," Adaugo said, her voice steady despite her fear. "Lean on me." Using strength she didn't know she had, she guided him away from the car, towards the small, dry shelter of the security house. She sat him down on the wooden bench she had been using. He was shivering violently. His panic attack was making his heart race dangerously. "Water," he whispered. Adaugo panicked. She had no cup. She looked around. Her bag was there. Inside was a single bottle of Eva water, the one bottle she had bought for herself because Nkiru refused to let her drink from the party supply. It was her only clean water for the night. She cracked the seal without hesitation and held it to his lips. "Drink, sir." "Slowly. Just small." The man drank greedily, spilling some on his chin. Adaugo watched him, her heart pounding. His face was covered in mud splash from the tire spin. "Your face, sir," she whispered. She looked for a rag. Nothing. She looked at her wrapper, filthy from the kitchen. She looked at the man. He looked dignified, like a father who deserved respect. She couldn't leave him dirty. Slowly, Adaugo reached up and untied her head tie, the only colorful thing she was wearing. Her hair was messy underneath, unkempt because she hadn't had time to braid it. She didn't care. She took the cloth, dipped the corner in the remaining water, and gently wiped the mud from the stranger's forehead, his cheeks, his hands. It was an act of intimate service. The kind a daughter does for a father. The man's breathing began to slow. The tightness in his chest loosened. He leaned back against the rough wall, closing his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he looked at Adaugo. Really looked at her. He saw the soot on her arms. He saw the tear in her blouse. But mostly, he saw her eyes, red, swollen, pools of deep, ancient sorrow. "Thank you, my daughter," he said, his voice regaining some of its deep, commanding timbre. "You have saved an old man from a very bad night." "It is nothing, sir." Adaugo looked down, ashamed of her appearance. "I am just happy you are okay." The man studied her. He was a doctor. He spent his life diagnosing problems. And he could see that the woman in front of him was in more pain than he was. "You were crying before you saw me," he said softly. It wasn't a question. Adaugo wiped her face quickly. "It is the smoke from the kitchen, sir." "Lies do not suit a face as kind as yours," the man said gently. "Why are you sitting here in the dark while the party is inside? Is that not your home?" He pointed to the compound. Adaugo let out a shaky breath. Maybe it was because he was a stranger. Maybe it was because he had kind eyes. But the dam broke. "It is my husband's house," she whispered. "But there is no room for me there." "Why?" "Because I am empty," Adaugo said, her voice hollow. "They call me a dry tree. My co-wife, she has sons. She has given the chief heirs. I have given him nothing but silence. Today, she told me my hands are too cursed to serve food to the guests." She looked at her hands, the same hands that had just saved him. "Maybe she is right. I am just a barren woman meant to be cut down and thrown into the fire." The man went very still. He looked at Adaugo with an intensity that made her shift uncomfortably. He didn't offer pity. He didn't say sorry. He simply listened, absorbing every word. "A dry tree," he repeated slowly, tasting the bitterness of the words. "Is that what they call you?" "Yes, sir." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a handkerchief to wipe his own hands, then paused. "Nature has a funny way of working, my daughter. Sometimes, the trees that take the longest to grow have the deepest roots. Do not let them cut you down yet." Adaugo managed a weak, sad smile. "Thank you, Papa. But hope is expensive, and I have no money left." Before the man could respond, the sound of sirens cut through the night. Blinding blue and red lights flooded the road. 2 more black SUVs screeched to a halt around the stock car. Men in dark suits jumped out, holding umbrellas and flashlights, looking terrified. "Sir! Sir!" one of them shouted, running towards the security house. "We lost your signal." "We are so sorry, sir." "The backup car is here." The old man stood up. He was suddenly tall again, imposing. The frailty was gone. "I am fine," he barked at his security detail. "No thanks to you." The guards rushed to surround him, shielding him from the rain. One of them looked at Adaugo with suspicion, moving to push her away. "Don't touch her," the old man commanded sharply. The guard froze. The man turned back to Adaugo one last time. He didn't ask for her name. He didn't offer her money. He just looked at her face, memorizing it. "You gave me your water," he said. "And you cleaned my face with your dignity. I will not forget." "Go well, sir," Adaugo whispered, unaware of who she was speaking to. The security team ushered him into the backup vehicle. The convoy reversed with military precision and sped off, leaving Adaugo alone in the dark once again. She stood there for a moment, holding her dirty head tie. She felt foolish. She had poured her heart out to a stranger who just left her there. "See," a voice in her head whispered. "Nobody stays. Everyone leaves." Adaugo turned and walked back to the backyard to finish washing the pots. But she didn't know that inside that speeding SUV, the man, Dr. Adenuga, the owner of the largest fertility network in Africa, was holding his phone. "Cancel my flight to London," he told his assistant on the other end. "Sir," I said, "cancel it. And get me the details of the chief living in that compound in Omunid. The one celebrating today. I want to know everything. Especially about his wives." Adaugo thought she was just washing pots. She didn't know she had just auditioned for the role of her life, and she had passed with flying colors. Nkiru decides that mocking Adaugo is not enough, she wants her gone. A false accusation is made, and Adaugo is given 7 days to pack her bags. But just as she is about to be thrown out like garbage, a familiar convoy blocks the road. The old man is back, and this time, he isn't alone. They say that when a man loves you, you are his queen, but when he falls out of love, you become a stranger. But what happens when you become an enemy? What happens when the person you swore, "till death do us part," looks at you and sees a curse instead of a wife? Adaugo is about to learn the hardest lesson of her life. A house built on beauty stands for a season, but a house built on wickedness eventually collapses. But before they collapse, the wicked always think they have won. If you have ever been falsely accused, if anyone has ever tried to spoil your name to push you out, this chapter is for you. I need you to type, "My vindicator is coming," in the comments right now. Do it with faith. And please, hit that like button. Let's get this video to 5,000 likes to shame the enemies of progress. Now, let's see how low Obinna and Nkiru can go. 2 weeks had passed since the chieftaincy title. The rain had dried up, but the storm inside Obinna's house was just beginning. Obinna sat in his parlor, his head in his hands. Things were not going well. A shipment of goods he imported from China had been seized at the wharf. A major contract he was chasing had suddenly been awarded to his competitor. Money was leaving his pocket faster than it was coming in. Nkiru saw her opportunity. She didn't offer him water. She didn't offer him comfort. She offered him poison. She walked into the parlor, her hips swaying, and sat on the arm of his chair. She ran a manicured hand across his back. "Obi, my chief," she cooed. "Why are you stressing yourself? You know the source of this problem." Obinna looked up, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "What source?" "It is just bad market." "Is it?" Nkiru whispered, her voice low and dangerous. "Think about it. Before you married her, your business was flying. Since that Barren woman entered this house, what have you gained? No children. And now, your money is drying up." Obinna frowned. "Adaugo is a good woman, Nkiru. Leave her out of this. She is a witch." Nkiru hissed, standing up abruptly. "Open your eyes, Obinna. A woman who cannot create life will suck life from those around her. She has eaten the children in her womb, and now she is eating your destiny to stay young. Why do you think she doesn't age? Why do you think she is always in the kitchen mumbling to herself? She is casting spells to make you poor so you will never leave her." Obinna was a modern man, but fear makes men stupid. He thought about the seized goods. He thought about Adaugo's silence. He thought about the whispers in the village. "What do I do?" he asked weakly. Nkiru smiled. A cold, victorious smile. "Cut off the dead branch, so the tree can breathe." That evening, Adaugo was summoned to the parlor. She wiped her hands on her wrapper and entered. She saw Obinna sitting on his throne-like chair, looking at the floor. Nkiru stood behind him, arms crossed, looking like the owner of the world. "You called me, Neyi," Adaugo said softly. Obinna didn't look at her. He couldn't. "Adaugo," he said, his voice flat. "I have made a decision." "A decision?" "My house is no longer peaceful," he lied. And my ancestors are angry. I cannot keep a woman who brings bad luck. Adaugo felt the room spin. Bad luck. Obinna, I have been with you for 15 years. I held the ladder while you climbed. How am I now bad luck? Don't argue with the chief. Nkiru snapped. Obinna raised a hand. I don't want noise. Adaugo, I am giving you 7 days. Adaugo blinked. 7 days for what? To pack your things and leave. Obinna finally looked at her, his eyes hard and cold. Go back to your father's house. If he is still alive. If not, find somewhere else. But you can no longer live under my roof. Adaugo fell to her knees. Not for the house, but for the betrayal. Obinna, please. Where do I go? I have no child to welcome me. I have no money. I spent my savings on your mother's burial. I spent my profit on your chieftaincy. Do not send me out naked. You have 7 days, Obinna repeated, standing up and walking away. Or I will call the police to throw you out. Adaugo stayed on her knees for hours, but the walls of that house had no ears for her cry. The 7 days passed like a blur of pain. Nkiru made sure it was hell. She told the whole village that Adaugo was being sent away for witchcraft. When Adaugo walked to the stream, women pulled their children away. Don't go near the witch, they whispered. On the 7th day, the final humiliation began. Adaugo was in her room, trying to fold her few clothes into a Ghana gold bag. Suddenly, the door burst open. It was Nkiru, followed by her maids and loud music blasting from the parlor. Today is the day. Nkiru shouted, dancing. The witch is leaving. Fresh air is coming. She threw a roll of black trash bags at Adaugo. Use these, Nkiru laughed. Trash belongs in trash bags. Don't use my husband's good suitcases. Adaugo watched in horror as Nkiru's maids began grabbing her things, her Bible, her old wrappers, her shoes, and stuffing them recklessly into the black nylon bags. Please, be careful, Adaugo begged, reaching for a framed photo of her and Obinna from their wedding day. Nkiru snatched the photo. She looked at it, sneered, and dropped it on the tile floor. Crash! The glass shattered. Oops, Nkiru smirked. Broken just like your marriage. Oya, carry your load. The boss is leaving. Adaugo packed the black bags. She walked out of the house she had painted. She walked past the garden she had planted. She walked out of the gate while Nkiru and her friends hooted and clapped behind her. Bye-bye, sterile woman. Nkiru yelled. Don't forget to send us a postcard from the gutter. Adaugo walked. She walked until her legs shook. She had nowhere to go. Her parents were late. Her siblings were struggling in the city and hadn't spoken to her in years because of her shame. She reached the village market square. She had no transport fare to even leave the village. She reached into her bra and pulled out a small tissue paper. Inside were 2 small gold earrings. They were the last gift her mother gave her before she died. She approached the aboki who bought gold near the motor park. How much? She asked, her voice trembling. The man looked at the gold, then at her distressed face, then at the black trash bags. He knew a desperate woman when he saw one. 5,000 naira, he said dismissively. 5,000. Adaugo cried. This is pure gold. It is worth 50,000. Take it or leave it, madam. Money is scarce. Adaugo looked at the earrings. Then she looked at the empty road. She had no choice. She nodded, tears rolling down her dusty cheeks. She was selling her mother's memory just to run away from her husband's hate. She stretched out her hand to take the money. Suddenly, vroom. The ground shook. The market noise died down instantly. A convoy of 4 heavy, black, bulletproof SUVs tore into the market square, kicking up red dust. Sirens wailed briefly, whoop, whoop, clearing the path. Market women grabbed their trays and ran. The Aboki dropped the earrings and stepped back in fear. Is it the governor? Someone shouted. Is it the police? The convoy didn't go to the palace. It didn't go to the police station. It screeched to a halt right in front of Adaugo. Adaugo froze. She clutched her black trash bags to her chest, terrified. Had Nkiru sent thugs to beat her? Had Obina sent the police to arrest her for a crime she didn't commit? The doors of the lead SUV flew open. 4 mobile policemen armed with rifles jumped out and took positions, pushing the crowd back. Stand back. Give way, they shouted. Then, the back door of the main vehicle opened slowly. A polished brown leather shoe stepped into the dust. The market held its breath. Dr. Adenuga stepped out. He looked different today. He was wearing a crisp, expensive senator suit, sunglasses, and a gold wristwatch that glinted in the sun. He looked like power. He looked like money. He took off his sunglasses and scanned the terrified woman standing with trash bags. Adaugo's mouth fell open. She recognized him. The old man from the rain. The driver she gave water to. He walked up to her, ignoring the hundreds of eyes watching. He looked at the black trash bags in her hands. His jaw tightened in anger. I was told you lived in a chief's house, Dr. Adenuga said, his voice carrying authority. Why are you carrying your life in garbage bags? They threw me out, sir, Adaugo whispered, trembling. They said I am a witch. They said I am a dry tree. Dr. Adenuga turned and looked at the crowd. He looked at the direction of Obina's house. Then he turned back to Adaugo and signaled his assistant. Take those bags, he ordered the assistant. Burn them. Sir. Adaugo gasped. That is all I have. No, Dr. Adenuga said firmly, reaching out and taking a hand, her dirty, trembling hand. That is what you had. You don't put new wine in old wineskins, and you don't bring trash into a palace. He looked her in the eye. Adaugo, get in the car. Your tears have reached heaven, and heaven has sent me to wipe them. To where, sir? To your new life. The crowd gasped as the billionaire opened the car door for the outcast. Adaugo looked at the market women who had shunned her. She looked at the Aboki. Then, she dropped the 5,000 naira notes on the ground and stepped into the air-conditioned car. The door closed. The tinted glass slid up. The sirens wailed again, and the convoy sped off, leaving the village of Omunid in a cloud of dust and confusion. Nkiru thought she had thrown Adaugo into the trash. She didn't know she had just thrown her into the arms of destiny. You don't put new wine in old wineskins. Adaugo had to lose everything so she could receive everything. Are you ready for the clapback in chapter 4? Hit that subscribe button. Have you ever seen the color of shame? Not the shame of the innocent, but the shame of the wicked when they are caught in their wickedness. It is a beautiful color to behold. They say that the stone the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. Nkiru and Obina thought they were throwing away a broken pot. They didn't know they were throwing away a diamond wrapped in a dirty rag. And the thing about diamonds is, they shine brightest when the light hits them. Adaugo is coming back to the house. Not to beg. Not to cry. But to show them that the God of the widow and the orphan is still on the throne. If you are ready to see the table turn so hard it breaks the legs of the enemy, smash that like button right now. And I want you to comment, God is not dead, in the comment section. Let's declare it together. The atmosphere in Chief Obina's compound was festive. Nkiru had ordered a crate of beer and pepper soup to celebrate the cleansing of the house. She was dancing to music from her phone, swaying her hips, feeling like the undisputed queen of the castle. Finally, she laughed, pouring a drink for Obina. The air smells fresher already. No more bad luck. Watch, my chief, within 1 week, that contract you lost will come back. The witch is gone. Obina took the glass, but his hand was shaking slightly. He felt a strange heaviness in his chest, a mixture of guilt and fear. But he drank the beer anyway, trying to wash away the memory of Adaugo's tea-stained face. To new beginnings, he muttered. Suddenly, the ground began to vibrate. The celebration music was drowned out by the aggressive blare of sirens. Weoo, weoo. Nkiru dropped her glass. It shattered on the floor. Police, she gasped. Did she go to the police? Obina stood up, buttoning his shirt nervously. No, Adaugo has no money for police. Look. They rushed to the gate. What they saw made their jaws drop. The convoy that had stopped at the market was now parked directly in front of their gate. The black SUVs gleamed like dark beasts in the afternoon sun. The mobile policemen had already jumped out, blocking the road, creating a perimeter of absolute power. Villagers were gathering at a distance, whispering, pointing. Who is that? Nkiru whispered, her eyes wide. Is it the governor? Or the senator? Obina straightened his kaftan. It must be the foreign investors I wrote to last month. They said they might visit. Oh. Nkiru, look at the cars. This is money. Quick, fix your head tie. Obina, thinking his fortune was about to change, rushed out of the gate, putting on his best chief smile. Nkiru followed, trying to look like the perfect wife. The back door of the central SUV opened. Dr. Adenuga stepped out. He stood tall, adjusting his expensive suit jacket. He radiated a kind of wealth that Obina could only dream of. This wasn't just rich man money, this was old money. Obina rushed forward, bowing low. Welcome, sir. Welcome to my humble abode. I am Chief Obina, the owner of this house. We are honored by your visit. He stretched out his hand for a handshake. Dr. Adenuga didn't move. He didn't smile. He looked at Obina's hand like it was covered in leprosy. He kept his own hands firmly in his pockets. Obina froze, his hand hanging in the air awkwardly. The smile on his face twitched. Sir. Obina stammered. Are you the man who throws his wife out like garbage? Dr. Adenuga asked. His voice was calm, deep, and cold as ice. Obina blinked, confused. Sir. I don't understand. Nkiru stepped in, flashing a fake, charming smile. Welcome, Daddy. There must be a mistake. We are a peaceful family. We just removed a bad element, a maid who was stealing from us. Dr. Adenuga slowly turned his eyes to Nkiru. The look he gave her made her step back. A maid. Dr. Adenuga repeated. Driver, open the door. The driver ran to the other side of the SUV and opened the door. Adaugo stepped out. The silence that fell over the village was heavy. Adaugo was still wearing her old clothes, but she stood differently now. She stood next to the billionaire. She wasn't crying anymore. She was looking at them, really looking at them. Adaugo. Obina gasped. What are you doing there? Nkiru laughed nervously. Oh. I see. She went to beg this rich man to bring her back. Adaugo, you have no shame. Oga, don't mind her, she is a desperate woman. She is bar. Shut up. Dr. Adenuga roared. The sound of his voice made Nkiru jump. The mobile policemen shifted their grip on their rifles. Dr. Adenuga walked closer to Obinna and Nkiru, towering over them. You call her Barren, Dr. Adenuga said, his voice shaking with controlled anger. You call her a dry tree. You call her a witch. He pointed a finger at Obinna. 2 weeks ago, my car broke down in the rain just outside your gate. I was having a heart attack. I was dying. Obinna's eyes widened. Nkiru's hand flew to her mouth. She remembered the drunk old man she had mocked from the window. Your wife, Dr. Adenuga gestured to Nkiru, saw me and laughed. She said I was ruining my shoes. She left me to die in the mud. Nkiru began to tremble. Sir. I didn't know. But she, Dr. Adenuga pointed to Adaugo, she ran out into the storm. She had nothing. No umbrella, no shoes, no hope. She used her own head tie to clean my face. She gave me her last bottle of water. She saved my life. The neighbors gasped. The villagers began to murmur. Adaugo saved him. You. Dr. Adenuga turned to the crowd, making sure everyone heard. My name is Dr. Femi Adenuga. I own the Adenuga Specialist Hospital in Lagos. I am the president of the African Fertility Association. God has used my hands to help over 5,000 women conceive babies when doctors said it was impossible. Obinna's knees buckled. He knew the name. Everyone knew the name. It was the most expensive, most successful fertility clinic in the country. People paid millions just to get an appointment. You have been looking for a child, Dr. Adenuga said, locking eyes with Obinna. Yet you had the key to your miracle in your house, and you treated her like a slave. He turned to Adaugo and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Adaugo, pack nothing. Leave the rags for them. You are coming with me to Lagos. My hospital is at your disposal. My best specialist will attend to you. I don't care what the medical report says, I have seen God work through science, and I will not rest until your joy is full. He looked back at Obinna and Nkiru, his eyes filled with disgust. You treated me like a king when you had nothing, he said to Adaugo, then turned to the couple. This man and this woman have everything, yet they have nothing but cruelty. Pray that God forgives you, because I will make sure the world knows who you really are. Let's go, my daughter. Adaugo looked at Obinna one last time. He looked small. He looked regretful. Goodbye, Obinna, she said softly. She turned and got back into the luxury car. Dr. Adenuga got in. The door slammed shut, a sound that echoed like a judge's gavel. Nkiru stood there, mouth open, tears of jealousy and fear streaming down her face. Obinna slumped against the gate, watching the convoy drive away, realizing he had just traded a diamond for a stone. As the cars disappeared into the distance, a neighbor shouted from the crowd. The dry tree has found a river. Oh. Nkiru, shame on you. And the village erupted in laughter and jeers, not at the barren woman, but at the wicked wife who thought she had won. I will not rest until your joy is full. Can I get an amen in the comments? Adaugo is on her way to her miracle. But wait until you see how the triplets arrive. Chapter 5 is the victory lap you have been waiting for. They say the best revenge is not poison, not fighting, and definitely not noise. The best revenge is massive success. The best revenge is for God to set a table before you in the presence of your enemies, and while they are watching with hunger in their eyes, you are feasting. We have walked this journey with Adaugo. We cried when she washed pots in the rain. We cheered when the billionaire stopped his car. We shouted when she was driven away from her shame. But today is the day we dance. Today is the day the dry tree becomes a forest. If you have been waiting for a miracle that will shut the mouths of your mockers, this is your chapter. Type triple portion in the comments right now. I want to see thousands of triple portion claims because what Adaugo is about to receive is not normal, it is supernatural. Are you ready? Let's go to you need one last time. 12 months. That is how long it had been since the black SUVs took Adaugo away. In the village of Ominid, 12 months had brought a lot of changes, but mostly for the worse in Chief Obina's compound. The gate was rusting. The paint was peeling. The generator that used to hum proudly every night was now silent because there was no money for diesel. Nkiru sat on the front porch, looking 10 years older. Her expensive lace wrappers were faded. Her wig was dry. She was screaming at her 3 sons. Emeka, stop hitting your brother. Chinedu, where are you going with that dirty shirt? Come back here. The boys didn't listen. Without Adaugo's gentle discipline and care, the house had turned into a zoo. The boys ran wild, disrespectful and messy. Nkiru, who used to spend her days painting her nails, was now exhausted from doing the work she used to force Adaugo to do. Obina walked out of the house. He looked thin. His chief belly had deflated. The contract he lost never came back. His business partners had pulled out, citing bad energy around him. He wore a faded kaftan, his eyes scanning the road, always looking for something he couldn't name. Are you going to the church? Nkiru snapped at him. The whole village is gathering. They say that billionaire doctor is coming back for a dedication. Obina sighed. I am going. If I can just speak to Dr. Adenuga, maybe he can help me. Maybe he can forgive us. Forgive? Nkiru scoffed, though her eyes held fear. We did nothing wrong. We made a mistake. They walked to the village church square. It was packed. It looked like a carnival. Canopies were everywhere. Cows were being slaughtered. The choir was singing praises that shook the trees. Everyone was there. The rumors were flying. Who is coming? What is happening? Then, the sound came. Vroom. The familiar convoy. But this time, it was bigger. 6 SUVs. A police escort. And a white Rolls Royce in the middle. The village gasped. A Rolls Royce in Ominid. The tires barely touched the red dust, it floated like a spirit. The convoy stopped in front of the church. The doors opened. Dr. Adenuga stepped out, looking even richer than before. He waved at the crowd, smiling. He walked to the white Rolls Royce and opened the back door himself. A foot stepped out. A silver high-heel shoe. Adaugo emerged. A collective gasp swept through the crowd like a wind. Is this the maid? Is this the broken woman? She was glowing. Her skin was like fresh milk. She wore a white lace gown encrusted with real crystals that sparkled in the sun. Her head tie was tied to the heavens. She didn't look like a woman who had been thrown out with trash bags, she looked like the wife of a president. Obina, standing at the back of the crowd, felt his knees go weak. Adaugo, he whispered. His heart hammered against his ribs. She was beautiful. More beautiful than the day he married her. But Adaugo didn't come out alone. She turned back to the car and reached out her hands. A nurse in a crisp white uniform stepped out, handing her a bundle wrapped in blue and white. A baby. The village cheered. She has a child. The Barren woman has a child. But wait. Another nurse stepped out from the other side of the car, carrying a second bundle. The cheer turned into a scream of disbelief. Twins. You. Twins. But wait. Dr. Adenuga reached into the car and lifted a third bundle. Silence. Absolute, shock silence. Then, an explosion of noise that could be heard in the next village. Triplets. Oh. Chanik. Women threw their head ties on the ground. Men jumped into the air. The dry tree had not just borne fruit, she had produced a forest. 3 baby boys. 3 kings. Obinna couldn't control himself. The sight of 3 sons, 3 heirs, broke his brain. He pushed through the crowd. That is my wife, he shouted, shoving people aside. Those are my children. Adaugo. Adaugo. He ran towards the front where Adaugo stood with Dr. Adenuga and the nurses. Nkiru followed him, her face twisted in a mix of jealousy and confusion. Adaugo. Obinna yelled, reaching out his hands. I am here. I am your husband. 2 massive mobile policemen stepped in front of him like a wall of concrete. Back off, one ordered, shoving Obinna so hard he stumbled into the dust. But she is my wife. Obinna cried, tears streaming down his face. I made a mistake. Adaugo, tell them. I am the father. Adaugo looked up. She handed the baby she was holding to Dr. Adenuga. She took the microphone from the MC. The crowd went quiet. Obinna knelt in the dust, his hands raised in supplication. Nkiru stood behind him, looking at the ground, unable to meet Adaugo's eyes. Adaugo looked at the man who had thrown her out. She looked at the woman who had called her a witch. She didn't look angry. She looked peaceful. My people, Adaugo's voice rang out, clear and strong. You know my story. You know my shame. You saw me wash pots while others danced. You saw me leave this village with my life in a trash bag. Yes, oh, the crowd responded. They called me a dry tree, she said, looking at Nkiru. They said my womb was a graveyard. They gave me 7 days to pack out. She paused, looking at the 3 babies sleeping peacefully in the arms of the nurses and the doctor. But they forgot one thing, Adaugo smiled, and it was a smile of pure victory. They forgot that God is the author of time. When God makes you wait, He is not punishing you. He is preparing you. She walked closer to where Obinna knelt, but she stayed behind the security line. Obinna, she said softly. You wanted a son. You betrayed your vows for a son. You mocked me because I was delayed. I am sorry. Obinna wept. Please, come home. Adaugo shook her head slowly. The home you chased me from no longer exists for me. God used your rejection to push me into my destiny. If you hadn't thrown me out, I would never have met Dr. Adenuga. I would never have gone to the hospital where they found the fibroids that were blocking my womb. I would never have received the treatment that prepared my body for this. She raised her hand to the sky. You mocked the delay, she declared, her voice rising like thunder. But you didn't know that the delay was preparing me for a triple portion. Amen, the crowd roared. These are not your sons, Obinna, Adaugo said firmly. These are the sons of grace. They will bear my father's name. And they will never, ever know the pain of rejection. She turned to Dr. Adenuga. Thank you, sir. For being the father I never had. Dr. Adenuga smiled and put a hand on her shoulder. Let us go dedicate these kings. They turned their backs on Obinna and Nkiru. The choir began to sing, Emila, Emila, Okoka, thank you, great God. Obinna sat in the dust, watching his wife, the woman he called caste, walk into the church carrying 3 blessings he would never touch. Nkiru stood beside him, her own children fighting in the dirt behind her, her victory turned into ashes in her mouth. Adaugo entered the sanctuary, her head held high. She had walked through the fire, and she didn't even smell like smoke. Wow. Family, I have chills. The delay was preparing me for a triple portion. If that touched your spirit, I need you to share this story right now. Send it to your WhatsApp groups, your Facebook friends, send it to anyone who is waiting for a miracle. Adaugo's story is proof that no condition is permanent. Don't give up. Your Dr. Adenuga is coming. Your triple portion is loading. Thank you so much for watching. We pour our hearts into these stories for you. Please, before you go, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you are the first to see our next story. God bless you, and remember, your story is not over until God says it's over. Bye for now.